HIKEEBA, folks. This is Pete58 with Shadow the Hedgehog, and we've got another episode of Is It Real? The show where I take you on a journey to discover whether or not certain urban legends are real. The search for the truth all YouTube junkies and couch potatoes wonder about. Now, in this special 15th episode, I don't know why it's special, but 15 seems like a good number, is the Russian or Soviet sleep experiment. Now, I like the story now, and I'm gonna go over it briefly, and then I'm gonna talk about the research I did into it, and and try to figure out if this is something that actually had happened or something like it had happened. Just basically to find out if it's real. So, okay, now the story takes place in the 1940s. The Soviet Union, or Russia, if you're not my age, the Soviet Union was Russia up until the late 80s and early 90s. They did an experiment, I guess I'm guessing on prisoners of war, maybe political dissidents. They were sort of a police state, so they probably had their pick of plenty of prisoners to do fucked up experiments on. And the Soviet sleep experiment was it's actually an sleep, not sleep, but the opposite of sleep, staying awake. So you should say the awake experiment. But it's called the sleep experiment, and it's actually lack of sleep. Now, the Soviets, somewhere in Russia, sealed up some prisoners into a room with microphones, no cameras, go figure, and they sealed up these prisoners, whether they were maybe Nazis from the war or, political dissidents, it's not specified. They put them in this chamber. It's like a bunker, food, kitchen, bathroom, everything you need. And they seal them in there, and they turn on this gas. Now, it was being viewed by, I guess, various officers of the Soviet Army or whatever, the intelligence, I don't know, didn't really specify. And, for the first couple days, everything is fine. They're not complaining. It seems to be going normal. They're not sleeping. And it's after 5 days when there's the first, that's when they start complaining. They would start talking to the, like they get paranoid, and kind of, acting like you'd expect paranoid people to act, crazy. Now, it wasn't until about 9 days when, they started acting really, really crazy, and they started screaming, and I don't know, for some reason, even though they had, I think it was they had stopped eating at some point, they were still taking shits, and they took the shit, and they rubbed the shit on the windows, and then covered it up with paper from books that they had in there, I guess, because there was no glue. Anyway. So now, after their little shit glue fest, and yeah, that's very disgusting, but that's how the story goes. And now, they did this after 9 days, and I guess the whole time that the Soviets, they're just, watching or listening, because they had microphones, but they covered the windows in shit, and pages and shit. So they couldn't see, they could only hear, and there's no cameras running, which I find odd, but I'll get to that in a few minutes. And so after 9 days, they wait 3 more days. They didn't hear anything. So eventually they decide, well, let's go in there and we'll flush out the gas, and we'll get the prisoners out of there. They went in now, and they found that there was plenty of food, but they hadn't eaten it. And it's like something out of George Romero's Night of the Living Dead. They had the prisoners, some of them had to remove their own digestive tract, and it was still working apparently. Hey, that's that's pretty cool, I guess. It's scary cool, but a little ridiculous sounding. Take out your intestinal tract, that shit ain't gonna work. It's gory, but that's about it. Now, like I said, they had food, but they decided to eat each other. Because hey, when in Rome, I don't know. I mean, that's just something they do, and when they have food and they just, you know, they get high, because that's what it sounds like. They just get high on some bad drugs and they got the munchies, and so they just ate each other. Now, you know, it's the story, you know, it just goes on in this like kind of horror movie detail. It even kind of ends in a way where it's like a bad movie, and dude kills a motherfucker with a gun. It's you know, it's really a cool story, but you know, there's certain things you don't find out. There's certain stuff that they didn't put in, like, you know, I mean, they have microphones, but not one Soviet dude had a, you know, hand crank camera. They were around back then. You know, they filmed all kinds of shit. They'd film that. You know, and there's just, you know, you think they would just say, oh yeah, but there's no found footage. I mean, that would have made the story a little bit more believable. I don't really think it's real. And I'm going to go over why. Excuse me. Now, the first part I'm going to talk about is the gas. That this gas, it turns you into like a schizophrenic, you know, zombie, I guess would be the right word for it, because they don't, I guess they don't die, they're sort of living, but I don't know, they don't really specify if the person, I mean, I'm guessing they're dead. They had their intestinal tracts out, but they were still working, so if they're still working, they can't be dead. So I'm guessing they're kind of like the 28 Days Later zombies, where they're still alive. They just, you know, they're all crazy and shit. Excuse me, I'm sorry, I got a cold or something. Now, gas, you know, is not an effective way to stimulate your body. You know, there's the people in the story, you know, if you read it, it makes it sound like they're on PCP. You know, you want a stimulant, and I'm talking about like a really good high. You know, shut up, don't do drugs. PCP, you know, you can check out the side effects on our website. I included links. The side effects of PCP are quite similar to the gas that is never mentioned in this drug, or in this story, this gas. You know, basically, you know, detached reality, the feelings of, like, you know, being in a different, you know, place. I mean, you just read through the story and then check out the side effects, and it's kind of scary, you know, that they're so similar, even though it's fake. But, you know, some of the best fiction is from made-up fact, you know, and one of the things about PCP are the things, you know, it can make you like a fucking zombie. I mean, you know, it makes you all fucking crazy, and you feel like you're, you know, not in your own body. I mean, and that's kind of what this gas sounds like it's doing to these prisoners that, you know, are, you know, eating each other with their, you know, still active digestive tracts that are sitting on the floor. Now, like I said, there's no name to the gas, and, you know, I guess that's, you know, for the story's sake, because it's obviously not real at this point when you get into it. But it sounds so similar to PCP, it makes it sound kind of cool. The differences between this gas and PCP, though, is that PCP can work, you know, sometimes in just a few minutes. You know, if you smoke it, or you take it intravenously, or you swallow it, which is a better way to stimulate you. If you're a human being, gas, you don't really do it that way. That's just not the way to do it. You know, you take something through eating it, like ingestion, intravenously, meaning through an IV, you know, shooting it up, or you know, or smoking it. Those are better ways. You know, even just smoking just a little. I mean, with gas, it don't, you know, it's too much. You got to have it like directly going into you to have an immediate effect, and you know, it can last up to 2 to 3 days. PCP. This gas, it took 5 days for it just to start working, and then only a couple days after that. But it's like, I don't know, like five days until it started working, and they were in for like another 11 or so. And, you know, it's PCP would probably be the best way to become a schizoid zombie. But, you know, either way, you're still going to hurt afterwards. You know, it's, you know, you're not really invincible, you know, as, you know, these zombies apparently in the story are, where they're just ripping shit out of them. Interesting notes about PCP is PCP was used as an anesthetic from the 1920s up until, you know, the 1950s. The side effects, though, led it to, you know, kind of be, you know, like, no, we can't use this as a an anesthetic. Vets use it as a tranquilizer, so it's still made legally, though majority of it is made illegally. There's still labs and pharmaceutical companies that do make it still for, like I said, animal tranquilizers and stuff like that. But it was used, you know, in medical experiments from 1920 to through up to like 1950s. You know, and that runs parallel to the storyline here. You know, it's the 1940s, and you know, it's, you know, that's another thing I thought was really, really cool, was the way the story kind of lined up with things. You know, I don't know whoever wrote it, if they did that kind of research, you know, but the way the story kind of works makes it really cool. It sounds almost believable. I mean, you could probably make a movie out of this. I mean, a lot of this stuff correlates with real stuff in the real world. You know, PCP being used from the 20s to the 50s, and you know, the way it affects you, and you know, it's, you know, 40s, so it's like, you know, they're still learning stuff, especially in the Soviet Union, because they were kind of behind us. So I like, you know, the way that the story kind of just, you know, they kind of works together with, you know, actual facts. Now, the second part of how to create, you know, super Soviet zombies is sleep deprivation. Now, this part of the story makes it even harder to believe that there's any reality to it. Humans are like Morpheus in the Matrix said, you know, we are batteries. If our battery runs out, you know, it needs to be recharged, and we do that with sleep. You know, you don't, you know, when a battery dies, you don't keep it in, you know, your 360 controller or whatever and hoping, well, maybe it'll work better now because it's dead. Basically, that's what the story is trying to suggest. Well, you know, if we don't let them sleep, you know, it'll be because of this gas, they'll be, you know, strong and superhuman and or whatever the point of the experiment was. You know, that's all, you know, cool and all, but it just doesn't work that way. I mean, like I said, you don't drive a car after it's run out of gas hoping that it's going to run better now. You know, humans are like cars and stuff like that. You know, they need, you know, proper maintenance. To do a sleep deprivation experiment in hopes of making a better soldier, it's just, that don't make any sense. You know, maybe like going like 2-3 weeks without eating. You know, like there's some special forces in the U.S. military. You know, that they practice that, so because they can be stuck in a hole for like, you know, a month. You know, they can't eat, so they just got to kind of deal with it. Excuse me. So, you know, that's you know, would have been a more believable experiment. It was like maybe eat, you know, going without food or drink, you know, or drinking, you know, water and stuff. That'd be more believable than sleep. You know, you know, that just doesn't, you know, it wouldn't make sense. Let's keep them from sleeping, see if they'll, you know. I don't know if it was an attempt to make them, you know, I mean, because they don't really say the purpose of the experiment, really. I mean, you know, what the end result is, so I don't know what their angle was. But, you know, the thing that's interesting, though, is that lack of sleep are similar to the side effects of PCP. Or, you know, the side effects to the gas in our story here. You know, that was, again, cool. You know, I mean, a lot of the side effects are like, you know, you have visions, you hallucinate, you're going to feel detached from your body, the kind of stuff that happens when you're on PCP. You know, combining these two, Jesus Christ, that'd be some party. But, yeah, you don't really want to go without sleep, whether through stimulant or just, you know, trying to stay awake. I did a little bit of research where there was a man who was Randy, I don't remember his name, Randy Gardner. He managed to stay awake for 11 days. And he experienced problems with his memory and speech, and he even started hallucinating. You know, similar to what you see in the Soviet sleep experiment and the PCP drug use. Excuse me. So, you know, that was pretty cool, too. I like when somebody takes the time to make the story with facts and stuff jive up. You know, it makes it almost believable. It makes it seem real. However, you know, there's so many... there's no benefits to not sleeping, so that kind of, you know, puts a hurting on the story. Now, the thing that I thought was really scary about not sleeping was not this story, but something that's actually real. It's a disease. It's called fatal familial insomnia. I want you to Google that. I've included a link to it in the description below. You want to be scared? Check out this fucking disease. You know, sometimes it can just happen, and you'll be dead in like 18 months from not sleeping. That's some scary shit. You know, that could be a creepypasta on its own, that goddamn disease. You check that out. It scared the shit out of me. Kept me up for about 5 or 10 minutes last night. But it is scary. And, you know, just check it out. Now, like I said, you know, as for gas doing that kind of thing, you know, that's not something a gas is for. It's, you know, it's usually to stop a human in their tracks, you know, whether it's mace or anesthesia, tear gas, you know, if it's trying to stop a rioter or trying to make someone who's in pain shut the fuck up so they can cut you open. That's what gas is for. It's not a stimulant. You don't, you know, you want somebody to, you know, run faster or do something quicker or whatever, you know, you shoot them directly in the heart with an injection of, you know, adrenaline. It's got to go right through the heart because that's, you know, that's where the engine is and that's where you want the action happening. You don't want to breathe it in through your nose. That takes too long. You want it, you know, directly to the bloodstream. That's what goes right into the heart, and that's what you need for it to, you know, get there quick and for you to be like, you know, all, you know, crazy strong, you know, like lifting up a car off your baby, your newborn baby. That's adrenaline. That's shoots right to your heart. That's the quickest way for, you know, for that stuff to work, you know, not through a gas. It's just it doesn't work. Excuse me. Now, this story, like I said, in my opinion, obviously you figured it out. I think it's not real. It's definitely not real. When you have a project like this, whether you're police state or America, you're going to have a camera rolling, and they always had cameras rolling in the 40s in the Soviet Union. I mean, you know, they just, you know, stuff of Stalingrad, you know, during the battle, and you'd figure it after this, they're in their own little bunker. They wouldn't just do audio, they would do, you know, film, you know, or video, if you want to be a dickhead. You know, because they had the hand cameras, they were, you know, they used them when they would fucking, you know, test their bombs. So for them not to have any kind of, you know, mention of a camera in the story, kind of, you know, made it seem not real. Because they would, even if you can't say, oh, well, there's no footage found. Okay, well, at least say there was a camera. Don't be like, oh, there's no camera, just a microphone and a couple of guys, you know, drinking, you know, and hanging out, and then other guys using their shit to, you know, make window shades. I don't know. I'm just saying, you know, a great story, you know. Some details could have been worked on, but, you know, hey, you know, it's supposed to be it's not supposed to be entertainment. It's supposed to be like, oh my god, is this real? Is this a report? But it wasn't a report. It was written in like a story kind of way. You know, just like if you read a short story or something. Yeah, it'd be cooler if it had it like written in kind of like a report form. Just give it, you know, give it some kind of reality, you know, like make it look real, you know. The cheesy one-liners, because you don't really get any dialogue other than, like, you know, not stupid, scary stuff, but at the end, when you get real dialogue, it's just stupid, like, shit from a B movie. You'd be like, you know, you would never take seriously, especially from a Soviet officer during a fucking experiment like the one they were talking about in the story. Yeah, and it's all in English, you know, I mean, there's, you know, everything's English this, English that, and it's supposed to be the Soviet Union. Last place you would go to speak English. So, obviously, it's a made-up story. I've done tons of research. I've included links to everything in the description below. You know, but it's not a real story. Entertaining as hell, scary as fuck, but not real. You know, I can only hope, you know, that I would see more, you know, these kinds of urban legends like this, because it was really like, you know, it really jibed up with you know, certain facts, you know, with the PCP, and the, you know, how it was similar to what happens when, you know, you don't sleep. I mean, these, you know, not sleeping and PCP, you know, the side effects of those things are, you know, they're pretty close to identical, you know, and a lot of them are the same. You know, and a lot of things like, you know, the sleep deprivation. We all love to sleep. We all need it. You know, that's one thing most people, if not everybody, can be like, well, I sleep. Yeah, sleep. Everybody sleeps. You know, it's not like, you know, having sex, because not everybody has sex. And, you know, not everybody eats like, you know, like a pig, you know, eat fatty foods like I do. You know, but everybody does sleep. So it's something everybody needs. Everybody can relate to that, you know, that everybody needs sleep. You know, it's the one thing that connects everybody, you know, or one of the things that connects everybody, regardless of who you are, or what you do, or anything. So, you know, this idea of being deprived of sleep is scary enough on its own. You know, because we love to sleep. It's just it's us recharging our batteries. But that's a torture type of thing where I've read about. I think it's in World War II. Certain soldiers, and I think the Japanese prisoner camps. They would, it's a way to fuck with somebody, because the side effects are paranoia, and you start to hallucinate whether you're on PCP, you're not sleeping. It's all scary shit, but none of it is real. Great story. Shadow, what did you think? It sucked. You mean it sucked? Well, it was scary. I'm gonna have nightmares. Well, go do PCP. Great story, but not real. Well, that does it for this one. Please spin dash that like and sub button. And if you have an idea for an urban legend I could cover on the next episode, just comment in the, below the video. Just leave a comment telling me, asking me about something, and maybe I could look into it. We can do a whole episode on it, and I'd really appreciate it. And my book, The Time Rippers Book 2, Gettysburg, is available for ebook or on Kindle at Amazon.com. And my first book, The First Time Rippers, is available for free. You can check the link to that in the description below. And Shadow, you ready to spin dash us out? Yes, already. HIKEEBA!